a ton of fans in the audience. They promised me no spoilers. So as Alana said, I'm Michelle Wright. I'm the Vice President of Partnerships at Kargo. At Kargo, we like to say we put the art in ad tech. And I'm joined here by this incredible panel. Mike Benson, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, but as an Emmy Award-winning marketer for Lost and the Global Chief Marketing Officer for Paramount, as well as Dustin Callif, who is the president of Tool, a creative and production experiential agency.
Hi. All right, so I will say there will be no spoilers today. I know there's some fans. Oh, come on. You don't want me spoiling it because you go. Anyway, really excited to be here and talk about Survivor. And I just think it's hopefully what you'll see is we took something that is not only well known and well loved and did something really unique that was not only specific to the show itself, but something that I think is a really important opportunity in the way we actually market entertainment today.
Yeah, and a testament to the fans. I know the fans really love it. So before we get started, I want to just give you guys a snapshot of some of the awesome work that went into putting this epic experience and marketing engine together.
So yeah, I think we're going to play a video here.
For 50 seasons, Survivor has asked a simple question. What happens when strangers are pushed to their limits? Season 50 is not just another season. It is a milestone. The idea was simple. To celebrate the 50th season, we are going to hide a real immunity idol in every state. Then invite the fans to become part of the adventure by finding them in the real world.
It's right. This is the Survivor family. This is what they want to do on a weekend, and I love that it's such a big swing.
Easy to explain, much harder to actually do. We knew the hunt had to begin online. A central hub, a map of the United States, timed clue drops, images that slowly revealed themselves as the moment got closer, fans solving the puzzle together, then traveling to the real location and following one last set of riddles. At the end of every hunt was a real Survivor idol, straight from the show, and with it the final step in the game. One fan from each state and a guest would earn a trip to Los Angeles for the live finale of season 50, stepping out of the hunt and into Survivor itself. But once the idea was real, the scale became clear. 50 activations across 50 states in just 25 days. First, we had to find, clear, permit, and plan 50 completely different locations.
A state park in Utah,
a clock tower in Maryland,
moving train in Chicago,
New Hampshire,
South Dakota,
Fenway Park,
Louisiana,
Griffith Park,
Maine,
Survivor 50 Challenge kicks off today in South Carolina,
Pennsylvania, Idaho, Kansas.
Not by you.
Each one different, each one its own experience, with riddles and activities bespoke to the location for that activation. To make it work, we had to build a touring operation. 5 producers, 5 road teams, 10 vans, dozens of crew moving across the country like a concert tour.
we do an activation, we drive for 2.5 hours, we rest, we do another activation that day.
Different obstacles along the way, whether it be snowstorms, different forms of weather, huge crowds.
Whether it was 50 people having a snowmobile for 10 miles in Wyoming or 1,500 people braving a 5-mile hike in California.
There were dozens of puzzles that needed to be solved in real time. Through it all, the fans showed up. In cities, in forests, in deserts, on islands, on riverboats. Families, friends, complete strangers. Fans driving hours, solving clues together, helping each other reach the idol.
The fan response at the activations was nothing I've ever seen before. They were thrilled to be there, and then when you brought in the alumni, everybody's faces lit up, like their dreams were coming true. They were able to meet people they'd seen on television for years.
Of course, the fans only saw the adventure, and that might be the part we are proudest of, because to them it felt simple. It felt like Survivor. In the end, the hardest part of a project like this is that you never really know if it will land. You spend months building it, planning it, stressing over every detail. Then one day, the fans show up, and suddenly all of it becomes real.
We brought Survivor to America in a way that everyone could participate.
I've done a lot of really amazing projects in my career, but being able to see the way that thousands of fans engage in every city and every state that we're activating in, and how genuinely touched they are by this activation has been really special. Survivor 50 is in the hands of the fans, and I think we truly succeeded in doing that.
This was, I think, 18 months in the making. This unbelievable campaign that is kind of culminating a little bit tonight. It's unlike anything I've ever seen.
How cool is that?
By the way, that project just finished 2.5 weeks ago. So we raced to put this together. That was the world premiere of the case study video. It's a little long right now. We're going to make it a little shorter, but it was fun. You got to see everything that we were doing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, 50 seasons for a show is so unheard of these days and so huge. So congratulations, first of all. And Jeff talked about it's 18 months in the making, but it was actually quite longer than that, you were saying, Mike. So when you talked about putting this together, what went into it? What did you know you had to have? And just talk us through that a little bit.
Well, it actually is almost 3 years in the making, because we knew that this milestone was coming, and we knew we wanted to do something significant with it. And a couple of different things that happened with Survivor. But the most interesting part was that we continue to see new audiences come in and watch this show, and young audiences coming in and watching the show, and especially families watching the show. And in the pandemic, when people didn't know what to watch and they needed something, many started with Survivor, and it became this great program that an entire family could watch together. And we saw that as a growth engine for us.
Yeah.
And so what we ended up doing was deciding we wanted to do something. I knew, and it just seemed obvious to me, it's season 50. There are 50 states in America. How do we get all of America to participate in this show? And so that was the core of the idea, but it was also to really leverage the fandom of this show, which actually turned up bigger in ways that far exceeded our expectations. But then to create something and an idea that actually took Dustin and his team 18 months to execute, but the idea actually started almost 3 years before that.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about the multi-generational fandom that you learned, that you saw. But when you were thinking about it, 50 states, 50 activations, 25 days, that is really pretty incredible. How'd you pull it off? Like, what was the blueprint? What did the thought go into it? It looks easy on that video, but something tells me it was a lot.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of different aspects to it. Obviously, we'll get into, on Mike's side, all of the orchestration he had to do across all of Paramount and all of CBS. But from a pure production standpoint, we literally created 5 different regional teams that were traveling around like a rock band in different vans. And this was a core team of like 8 people who were traveling. And then we would add up and add maybe another 10 people locally in different states. And that allowed us to have the consistency. But sometimes we did 5 states in one day of 5 different events, which is, if any of you do experiential, most of us are used to doing one event and you're done. To have to do 50 of these in 25 days takes so much orchestration and a little bit of luck, to have it all come off. And that was what was amazing about. And also, to be honest, there was a moment, you saw it a little bit, but Jeff Probst, I remember we were presenting to him before this event went off, and he had his mouth open the entire time, partly because he was so excited about this, but 2, he was like, I'm so curious how you guys are going to pull this off. And to hear that from Jeff, who produces this amazing show, that was really fun.
Jeff, who's a master of challenges, we actually created our own challenge to pull it off. The thing that I really loved about what we accomplished here, and we didn't start out thinking this way, but it became this, is how do you bring a show like Survivor to life that people just kind of think of it as like, oh, it takes place on an island, right? Yeah. It's tropical. Yeah. It's like that. And to do that in Minnesota or Oregon is a very different experience. And what we quickly realized was that this needs to be different in every single location. And the work that the team did to figure out not only that it has to be different in every location, but what's the right location in every state. There was as much time put into that thought process as it was to figuring out what the execution was going to be once we got into that state.
Yeah, you talked about, and they had said it here, that this season was about putting it in the hands of the fans. So you knew it couldn't just be traditional marketing, but something that people could physically participate in. Talk about how, you talked a little bit about the authenticity that you wanted to ensure was in each location. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, look, this campaign was different for us because we did want to bring the fans in, and it was said in the film, like, we wanted to invite everyone to participate in a way that felt authentic, and not only the fans, but give our CBS affiliates, we had over 250 affiliates around the country, how can they participate? Because just like the participants coming to be at these events, that could scale through social media, but it gave our affiliates a whole different content platform for them to participate as well. But the bigger idea here allowed this to become almost a content machine for us, right? And so the more that we produced and the different events created an opportunity to just create more content to be pushed out there. And that's what fundamentally was different about this campaign. I could have gone off and taken the budget and said, okay, let's do a bunch of billboards, let's do a bunch of digital ads, let's do a traditional advertising campaign. But what we did here is we shifted the budget and invested in this experience. So that became the content marketing engine for us that actually became the bigger campaign for us and supplemented the other things that we were doing.
And I was just going to add, as far as this content engine, just to break it down, like, there's all of the content that obviously all the participants are generating, that's on social media, and we had whole entire channels being created of people telling their stories, of finding these different immunity idols. In fact, we had some people go to 14 different states. Like, some people were going and traveling, and this became a part of their journey. We had the affiliates who were all, this is the local news stations all creating content. We had the alumni who are the prior contestants on Survivor. We had over 100 of them participate. They were all creating content. We had Paramount's, and CBS's social media team creating content. There was all these different layers of content being generated, and that is what allowed this to become a content engine and not just an experiential activation with a making of, video.
You could look at it, it's an experience where someone's going to win a trip at the end of it. That was actually the least part of this whole piece, right? The smallest part of it was actually the prize at the end of it. And the other fascinating part for us, where we thought, okay, the prize to be able to go to the live show at the end, we gave a winner to one person in every state won. That actually became something that was exciting, but it was just more the experience that people had actually being on site together that really became the big prize for everyone.
Yeah, we were just talking off stage, like, in today's environment, the advertising ecosystem is changing so dramatically. Traditional media is not what it used to be with programmatic and different ways to buy, but the experiential part really, there's the paid, owned, and earned cycle, but you actually developed an experiential and created media channels and content that got distributed. Can you talk a little bit about when you were thinking about building not just this experience engine, but how the content, how you knew it wanted to shape the fan experience as well?
Sure. It's an overused term is the idea, surprise and delight your audience, right? Your customer. And we wanted to do that in multiple ways. And it's the traditional, whether it's on-air marketing that we can do or pushing trailers out, like, we did all of that. We wanted to create the excitement around the milestone in ways that were traditional. But I do fundamentally believe that a lot of viewers today want to feel something that is more real. So creating experiences that are authentic to the brand and the IP and allowing them to participate in a way, I think, is far better than just creating things that you can scroll on a screen.
Well, and something I'm just going to add, this was just an observation for me, is like we mentioned earlier, from a content standpoint, to make all of this happen, the orchestration that needs to happen at a massive studio like Paramount and CBS, and that's what I saw on my side, even though I'm on the creative studio side, to see you and how everybody, and I know there's a lot of CMOs and other people in the audience, it's to talk about how long that takes to get the buy-in of all the different divisions that you have to pull together to make something like this come off. And that, to me, was one of the impressive things that you were doing, is like the general, you know, trying to pull everything together. And that's something that we can't all forget about. It's not just about the experience, it's about getting all that buy-in from all the other departments at your company.
Well, to understand what we're doing too, right? It was such a fundamental change in the way we would build a campaign. And the buy-in is really getting the teams to understand how this fit in with everything else that we're doing, but it still needed to be, you know, tied together under one bigger theme and umbrella. And where Jeff went and created this, he wanted to put the show in the hands of the fans. Our marketing campaign was really more of a call to action: light your torch, be part of this, show your fandom, and be part of something that's really going to be something that you will love, but hopefully share your love with others and bring people in.
Yeah, and that fandom that we had talked about before, you know, and you talked about what surprised you when you actually went to each location. Can you talk a little bit and share with the audience on the last day in the last state, what you saw, what surprised you, and what about this fandom community did you recognize and see throughout this whole journey and experience?
I mean, listen, the fans of Survivor were beyond amazing in the sense that when they showed up, and they would literally come up to our team and thank us for showing up and providing this amazing experience to all of them. And I think what was really surprising was how deep the fandom ran, in the sense that people were showing up and literally making friends for life, you know, by waiting in line for 3 hours for an event that, you know, to go find an immunity idol. A lot of people could have gotten frustrated. These were fans who saw this. They were coming together as a community and being able to share their thoughts, share their love of the show. We found people, like I said, who were literally traveling from state to state. We had one person who had the perfect job. She was a flight attendant, and she went to 7 different states, including Alaska. And this was just part of the adventure. This was so fun for them. And I think that was the surprising thing for me, not going, how many people are going to show up? We had way more people than we ever expected show up, and we had to pivot at the very beginning. Mike can get into this, we had to pivot because there were more people than we could handle from a pure management standpoint. And so we had to come to you, and I'll maybe let you.
No, it was funny. I get a phone call after 2 events. We need more money. I'm like, how much? We need more money. And I thought, okay. We got into that, but I said, my first reaction was, what's wrong? And they're like, it's actually a good problem to have. Like, we've got so many people here, and we don't want to have a bad customer experience while people are out there. We need more ambassadors. We just want to hand water out to people who are standing there for hours in the desert. And so what happened was, after 2 or 3 events, word started to spread that every single event was going to be different. And so then you had a lot of people, like a lot of new people showing up, but also a lot of people who went before to wanting to see what the next event was going to be and how that was going to be different. And it scaled in a way that we didn't expect, but it surprised and delighted me, I guess, was a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's great. And even though you said each state was different, there really was a common theme that kept the Survivor franchise, the authenticity for what fans and consumers can expect. Can you talk about that a little bit when you were creating and orchestrating this epic experience?
Yeah, well, that was really about how do you create a challenge. And in many states, and this is what Dustin and his team did so well, working actually very closely with Jeff Probst and the show to figure out how could we set up every state in a way that was very Survivor. And so whether it was the location, the clues leading to that location, but it was all about being able to touch and see an idol that was crafted by the show. And so you felt like you were experiencing that authentic part of the show. And where someone said, well, what's next? What are you going to do next? It's not really about taking this and replicating it in some way. I think it's about thinking about the authentic experience we created and scaling that in ways that are more surprising and unexpected. And that's kind of like the way we have to approach it. So every state was a surprising, unexpected delivery, but it also delivered an experience that allowed you to feel like I'm touching something that is authentically Survivor.
Yeah, on day one, when you opened up registration, I think there was 200,000 people that logged in and clicked. And what surprised you about that? Or was that part of what you anticipated this challenge would become?
I mean, listen, I do think that there was way more engagement up front than we anticipated, but like Mike said, it's a great problem to have. And I think for us, it was just about, being able to roll with it but always stay true to that North Star of this was a challenge that we were going to unlock across all of America and basically turn all of America into a Survivor challenge. And that was the simple idea. And that's the thing. Sometimes when you work with, some clients, you start to go in different circles, on different things. And we stayed true to that. And it was just about making that the best experience we possibly could. And that sounds simple for me to say that, but we have to remember that a lot of times of just stay true to what that core idea is and just make it the best it possibly can be.
I mean, there aren't many shows like Survivor either. And that show 25 years ago redefined in many ways television, but the idea of a reality show.
Absolutely.
And I think Jeff has done an amazing job. I mean, his passion is unlike so many others where he's all about taking that show and evolving it in a way that makes sense, but stays true to how it actually challenges the human condition in so many ways. The idea of outwit, outplay, outlast is still very much alive, but the show 25 years ago is different than it is today, and he's evolved that. And our challenge is whether I'm around, Jeff's around, is that this stays around for a long time. And so the exciting part for us is how to continue to bring new audiences into a program that's 25 years old, and that's not really easy to do.
It's unheard of today.
Yeah, and out of the box, we were able to actually exceed how many people watch. The other thing that I want to comment on is you've got to give people credit for showing up.
Yeah.
And I think that, especially today, it's hard to get out, but people have been saying broadcast television is going to die for 25 plus years. And I don't necessarily believe that. I know parts of our business are evolving and changing, but about 6 million people every week on CBS, a linear television network, show up for this show live.
Yeah.
And then another 2.5 million watch it on delayed, and then millions more. We've got more than 10 million people a week watching this show. They show up.
That's unbelievable.
And you've got to assume that when there's that much love for something, they will show up, but you've got to deliver an experience that is like something that makes them feel like, okay, this was worth doing. I'm glad I showed up.
And it sounds like you guys did that in spades. I don't know if this is a spoiler, so if it is, don't share it, but what you talked about in the last state and how you really needed to take the weather outside and the Survivor experience inside for those consumers. Can you share a little bit about that, or is that going to be released at a later time?
No, listen, it was, like I said, there's a little bit of luck to do 50 states in 25 days and have every state go off. We had done 49 states and our 50th was New York. Happened to be on the same day that a little blizzard just hit. So we had to push it one day, and we had this, a credit to all the team. Everyone is, we can't end this thing on a weather contingency. We have to do all 50 states. So luckily, New York, they clean up really well, and they bounce back. The next day, streets were clean. We still had 700 people show up the day after a blizzard for our event.
Well,
we got to complete all 500.
And the fun part of that, it was in the Hall du Lumières in downtown. You stepped out of a blizzard entrenched town and into what felt like Fiji. And it was an amazing experience. But to your point, 700 people showed up for that. And I really believe that we delivered an experience that really felt like, wow, this feels like Survivor.
That's awesome. So we only have a few minutes left, and I want to play the tape at the end that just shows a little bit about what the fans thought. And then hopefully we'll be able to get to some questions.
For the first time ever, we are taking Survivor across America. We've hidden immunity idols, one in every state. Solve the clues, find the idol for a shot at an unbelievable prize.
Survivor fans say they have been looking forward to this day since the hunt was announced.
Drove 5.5 hours. We changed our flights.
Got to miss school. I had a family emergency. Got up early, sat in line, windows down. It was great. people came from all over for a chance to be in the audience for the Survivor 50 finale show.
Been waiting here for weeks. It's the idol. Oh, it's here. I found it. The idol.
This is us after 16 flights of stairs and 1 ladder.
Took an icy trek up to a lighthouse.
This is like up a mountain. Got to go into a cave. It's our first time on the field.
Yeah, definitely making it really, really special.
Survivor is the best show out there.
It's one of the most important TV shows of just American history.
It's kept me going through my own journey of being a survivor through breast cancer.
I was 4 years old, sneaking out of my bedroom to watch it with my parents.
It was one of the first things I ever bonded with my mom over.
I watched with my dad, and he's gone now, something that we're able to carry on.
A survivor really means a community and coming together with people.
Been fans of Survivor for years. It's just an epic moment for us.
Deep Survivor outfit.
Number 50, yeah, baby! We touched the idol.
How was that?
Amazing.
Dog, it's like a glow.
Awesome. So do we have any time for questions? Okay, so we have time for 1 or 2 questions. Are there any marketing questions, fan questions from the audience? No? Oh, there's one.
We did do it at the Armadillo Den here, if anybody's been. It was a great location, huge backyard, and so it was a really fun experience to be able to do it here. This was, I think, Texas, and what we did here in Austin was our 48th state. So we were near the end. We had a huge showing. Some of our team, I think, is here that actually maybe worked on it. But yeah, it was really fun to do it here. And again, like strategically, just so everybody knows, we had to choose something unique, and we had a checklist. You know, we were always going down trying to analyze, was it something that was going to be for a family? Was it something that maybe we'll want to make way more challenging, like a 2-hour snowmobile, ride? Was it something that we wanted to make really mass accessible, like when we did it at Fenway Park? Was it something that we wanted to do more of it at a museum, like we did at the Sign Museum in Cincinnati? The point is like we had all these different things we were analyzing to try to have this perfect mix of locations that all fit into the spirit and theme of what Survivor is all about. And I think that was as much of a character in this experience as, the show itself.
Yeah, I think we could have made it easy at every location, and some locations were easier than others, but I think that's what made this special, is that we actually went out and said, no, let's make this hard, because Survivor isn't easy. It's not an easy game to play. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to make sure that we were actually like meeting that expectation and create challenges that were actually challenging.
And so final question that I'm going to ask, if there's any super fans in the audience, which I know there are, any tips on how to become contestants themselves?
First off, I can't tell you, when we would go to all these different events, that was one of the first things we got from everyone. They would come up to our production team, can you help me get onto Survivor? And we're like, we're sorry, we are not able to help you with that.
So Jeff looks at every single contestant that comes in. If you want to be on the show, put a tape together, submit it, be yourself, be authentic. Don't be someone who you're not. And I think it's really important that they're always looking to have like a really good mix of people who will be themselves. And because if you ever watch the show, if you are a super fan, what you realize is that some of these players start out as one thing and they become something else as they are challenged in ways that they didn't expect.
Yep.
And it's fascinating to watch that, but it's the authenticity of of who you are that needs to come out in the casting process.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Let's give a round of applause to these
Great job.
incredible marketers.
Great job.